No oath is forgotten by mankind, and their returned gift can shatter empires. The cargo ship rattled as it entered orbit around New Pyongyang. Captain Junho Kim gripped the controls and watched the blue-green planet fill his view screen. He had hauled supplies to this colony world 100 times before. It was a quiet place, peaceful. 400,000 people called it home. But today was different. His radio crackled to life. "Captain Kim, this is Colonial Defense. We need you to hold position." Junho frowned. "What's going on?" "We have visitors. A lot of them." Junho switched his view to long-range sensors. His breath caught in his throat. Dozens of ships floated near the moon. They were unlike anything he had seen before. The hulls were damaged, burned. Some ships had holes punched through them. These were not warships. These were survivors. On the planet below, Dr. Hana Lee stood in the governor's office. She studied the holographic display showing the alien fleet. Her specialty was xenobiology, the study of alien life. She had never seen this species before. "They're called Valorans," Commander Yuna Park said. Yuna commanded the Colonial Defense Force. She looked tired. "They've been broadcasting for 3 hours. Their message is simple. They need shelter." "From what?" the governor asked. "From extinction." The Valorans came down to the planet in small shuttles. They moved slowly, carefully. Hunyo watched from the landing platform as the first aliens stepped onto human soil. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and large eyes. They looked fragile, scared. An elder Valoran approached. She moved with dignity despite her obvious weakness. "I am Thelmara," she said in broken human language. "We are all that remains of our people." Hana stepped forward. "How many of you are there?" 50,000 souls, Thelmara replied. "Once we numbered in the billions. But the Kraith Dominion came. They wanted our worlds. When we refused to become their slaves, they destroyed everything. Our planets, our colonies, our families." The governor looked uncomfortable. "We're just a small colony. We don't have much. The Galactic Council should be handling this." Thelmara's large eyes became wet. "We petitioned the Council. They said our conflict with the Dominion was not their concern. They closed their doors to us." Silence fell over the room. Unyo felt anger rise in his chest. The Galactic Council was supposed to keep peace. Instead, they had turned away refugees fleeing genocide. Yuna spoke up. "We should put it to a vote. Let the colonists decide." The vote took 2 days. In the end, the result was clear. New Pyongyang would shelter the Valorans for 6 months. It would be hard. Resources would be stretched thin. But it was the right thing to do. The Valorans wept when they heard the news. Over the next month, something beautiful happened. Humans and Valorans worked together. The aliens helped in the fields. They shared their knowledge of medicine and engineering. They taught human children songs from their lost worlds. Junho found himself drawn to the landing platform each evening. Thelmara often stood there looking up at the stars. "You miss your home," he said one night. "Always," she replied. "But your people have given us something precious, hope." "Where will you go when the 6 months end?" "Into the deep dark, beyond the known galaxy. We will find some forgotten corner and rebuild. It will take generations, but we will survive. Because of you." Thelmara reached into her robes and pulled out a small crystal. "This contains our most valuable possession. Star charts to regions of space no one has explored, and the secret to our fastest propulsion drives. It is our gift to humanity." Junho shook his head. "We didn't help you for payment, I know. That is why we give it freely." Thelmara took his hand. In her culture, this was a sacred gesture. "Junho Kim, I make an oath to you and your people. We are few now, but we remember kindness. If you ever call for us, what remains of the Valoran people will answer. This I swear on the ashes of my world." Junho felt the weight of her words. He looked into her ancient eyes and spoke from his heart. "Then I make an oath in return. We have witnessed your suffering. We have seen what the Dominion did to you. If they ever threaten us or our people, we will not forget this debt. Humanity remembers Thelmara, always." The next day, the Valoran fleet departed. Hunyo watched them disappear into the dark between stars. Hana stood beside him. "Do you think we'll ever see them again?" she asked. "Maybe," Junho said. "Or maybe our grandchildren will." 3 days later, everything changed. The Kraith Dominion arrived. Their warships were massive, dark things that blotted out the sun. The lead vessel broadcast a message that made Junho's blood run cold. This is Dominar Vorthak of the Kraith Empire. You have harbored our property. You have interfered with our rightful expansion. This is your only warning. Surrender the Valoran location or face consequences. Governor Chen tried to negotiate. He explained the Valorans were gone. He offered to cooperate with any investigation. He begged for mercy. Vorthak's response was simple. You chose to help our enemies. Now you will serve as an example. The bombardment began without further warning. Junho was loading supplies onto his ship when the first energy beams hit the capital city. The explosion lit up the sky like a second sun. Hana grabbed his arm. We need to go. Now, they ran for his cargo ship. Yuna was already there, herding civilians aboard. Yunyo fired up the engines without waiting for clearance. The ship lurched into the air as another beam struck nearby. The shockwave nearly knocked them from the sky. Through his view screen, Junho watched his world die. The Dominion ships moved in formation, systematically glassing the planet's surface. Cities became firestorms, forests turned to ash, oceans boiled. 400,000 people lived on New Pyongyang. In 3 hours, nearly all of them were dead. Junho's ship limped into deep space on damaged engines. 50 other ships had escaped. That was all. 50 ships out of an entire world. Hana sat in the co-pilot seat, tears streaming down her face. Yuna stood behind them, her hands clenched into fists. The Galactic Council, Yuna said. We need to contact them. They have to respond to this. Junho sent the message. He included video of the bombardment. Evidence of genocide. The Council's response came 6 hours later. This is an internal matter of the Kraith Dominion. The Council does not interfere in territorial disputes. Junho stared at the message in disbelief. They were calling this a territorial dispute. 400,000 murdered people, and the galaxy's government would do nothing. He opened a channel to Earth. His hands shook as he recorded the message. This is Captain Junho Kim of New Pyongyang. Our world is gone. The Kraith Dominion has committed genocide, and the Council refuses to act. I am transmitting all data now. Remember what happened here. Remember what they did to us. And remember the oath I made to the Velerans. We told them we would not forget. I ask Earth to not forget this either. The debt is recorded. He sent the message and sat back in his chair. Through the viewport, he could see New Pyongyang glowing red like a dying ember. Hana touched his shoulder. What do we do now? Hunyo looked at the stars. Somewhere out there the Valorans were running. Somewhere out there the Dominion ruled through fear. And somewhere out there Earth was receiving his message. Now, he said quietly, now we remember. And we make sure humanity never forgets. Behind them their world burned. And in the cold silence of space, an oath carved itself into the heart of humanity. An oath written in the ashes of 400,000 souls. The Dominion had made a terrible mistake. They had taught humanity that mercy had no place in the galaxy. Soon, humanity would teach them the price of that lesson. No oath is forgotten by mankind and their return. Gift can shatter empires. 40 years passed like a long, cold winter. Admiral Jiho Kang stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Fleet's newest dreadnought. He was 17 when New Pyongyang burned. He had been there, a colonial student watching from a shelter as the sky turned to fire. A rescue ship had pulled him out at the last moment. He still remembered the heat, the screaming, the silence that came after. Now he was 57 and he commanded the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Admiral, his communications officer said, we're receiving the final report from Agent Minji. All intelligence assets are in position. Jiho nodded slowly. How many Dominion worlds does she have mapped? 30 worlds, sir. Every military installation, every command center, every fleet position. Jiho allowed himself a small smile. 40 years of work. Send her my compliments. In a quiet office on Europa, Dr. Taeyang Choi examined a holographic display. The image showed a new type of engine, sleek and powerful. It was based on Valoran technology, the gift from Thelmara's people all those years ago. It's ready, he said to his assistant. The propulsion system is 50 years ahead of anything the Dominion has. His assistant, a young engineer, looked nervous. Doctor, are you sure we should be doing this? The Galactic Council has forbidden advanced weapons development. Taeyang looked at her with sad eyes. The Council watched as our people burned. They did nothing. We asked for justice, and they told us to be quiet. So we stopped asking. But we never stopped remembering. He pulled up another file. This one showed weapon systems, shield technology, stealth plating. Each design was revolutionary. Each one was built from the foundation the Valorans had given them. "We've been working for 40 years, Taeyang said, in secret while the galaxy thought we were weak and scared. Let them keep thinking that. For a little longer." Across human space, the work continued. Senator Junho Kim was old now. His hair was white and he walked with a cane. But his mind was sharp and his memory was perfect. He never forgot the oath he made to Thelmara. He never forgot watching his world die. He stood before the Earth Senate addressing the gathered representatives. "For 40 years, we have appeared to bend the knee," he said. "We paid reparations to the Dominion for interfering with their operations. We closed colonies near their borders. We smiled and bowed when their ambassadors came to Earth. The galaxy thinks we are weak. The Dominion thinks we are cowards," he paused, letting his words sink in. "They are wrong. We are not weak. We are patient. We are not cowards. We are preparing. And now, after 40 years of preparation, I propose we give the Dominion an official response to what they did at New Pyongyang. I call it the Great Reply." The Senate chamber erupted in debate. Some senators argued for caution. Others demanded immediate action. But in the end, the vote was clear. Humanity would respond. The only question was when Agent Minji Song sat in a bar on a Dominion border world. She looked like a simple trader, just another human trying to make a living in a hostile galaxy. No one suspected she was one of Earth's top intelligence operatives. She sipped her drink and listened to the Kraith soldiers at the next table. They were talking about their next campaign, 5 more species marked for conquest, billions of lives that would be enslaved or exterminated. The Dominion had grown fat and lazy. They controlled 400 star systems now. Their empire stretched across a quarter of the known galaxy. They believed they were unstoppable. Minji finished her drink and left. She sent a coded message to Earth. The Dominion was overextended. Their fleets were scattered. Their supply lines were stretched thin. They were vulnerable. The message was received by Admiral Jiho. He read it 3 times, then called a meeting of the Fleet Command. "The Dominion has made a mistake," he told his officers. "They've grown too large to defend properly. They think no one would dare challenge them. They've forgotten that empires fall. It's time we reminded them." His chief of staff, a serious woman named Captain Sora Nam, leaned forward. "Admiral, if we do this, there's no going back. The galaxy will never see us the same way again." "Good," Jiho said. "I'm tired of being seen as victims. It's time they see us as we really are." The final preparations began. Every shipyard in human space worked at full capacity. New dreadnoughts rolled out of construction bays every week. Fighters were assembled by the thousands. Marines trained in artificial gravity chambers preparing for ship-to-ship combat. But the most important work happened in secret. Commander Daehyun Shin led a team of Special Forces operators. Their mission was simple but dangerous. For 15 years, they had been infiltrating Dominion space. They had planted agents, bribed officials, inserted malicious code into military networks. Daehyun met with Admiral Jiho in a secure facility deep beneath Earth's surface. "Sir, we have access to 47 Dominion military installations," Daehyun reported. "On your command, we can disable their defense grids, shut down their communications, and lock their ships in dock." Jiho studied the tactical display. Each red dot represented a Dominion world. Each green dot was a human asset in place. "How long until we're ready?" Jiho asked. 2 months, sir. We need to position the fleet elements without alerting their sensors." "Do it. And Daehyun, tell your people they've done excellent work. The 400,000 will be proud." Daehyun saluted. Every human ship, every weapon, every soldier's uniform carried the names of New Pyongyang's dead. It was called the Remembrance Initiative. No one who served in Earth's forces could forget why they fought. The Dominion remained ignorant of all this. Their ambassadors still visited Earth, demanding tribute and obedience. They still sent threats when human colonies grew too prosperous. They still believed they ruled the galaxy through fear. In the Dominion capital, Dominar Vorthak received reports of human activities. His intelligence officers noted increased ship construction. They saw human fleets moving in unusual patterns. "Should we be concerned?" one officer asked. Vorthak laughed. "Concerned? About the humans? They're insects. We burned their colony world and they paid us for the privilege of surviving. Let them build their little ships. It means nothing. He dismissed the reports and returned to planning his next conquest. On Earth, in a secure conference room, the final meeting took place. Admiral Jiho stood at the head of the table. Beside him sat Senator Junho, Dr. Taeyang, Agent Minji, Commander Daehyun, and Captain Sora. Dozens of other officers and officials filled the room. 40 years ago, Jiho began, the Dominion murdered 400,000 of our people. They did it to make a point, to show the galaxy that they were strong and we were weak. The Galactic Council did nothing. The other species looked away. He activated a holographic display. It showed the current map of Dominion space. 400 systems marked in red. We spent 40 years preparing our response. We reverse-engineered Valoran technology and leapfrogged the Dominion's capabilities. We infiltrated their empire. We studied their weaknesses. We built a fleet that can strike anywhere, anytime. And now we are ready to deliver humanity's reply. Junho stood up, leaning heavily on his cane. I was there when New Pyongyang burned. I made an oath that day. I promised the Valorans we would remember their suffering. I promised Earth we would not let this stand. Today we keep that promise. Taeyang pulled up technical specifications. Our ships are faster, better armed, and better protected than anything the Dominion has. We have numerical parity, but technological superiority. The engagement simulations are clear. We will win. Minji added her intelligence report. The Dominion is overconfident and overextended. They have more territory than they can effectively defend. If we strike hard and fast at key locations, their empire will crumble. Sora presented the battle plan. We will hit 47 worlds simultaneously. Each strike will be precise, overwhelming, and decisive. We will target only military installations. No civilian casualties. We are not like them. Daehyun finished the briefing. My teams are in position. On your command, we will cripple their defenses before the first shot is fired. Jiho looked around the room. He saw determination in every face. These were people who had waited 40 years for this moment. People who had never forgotten. People who understood that justice delayed was not justice denied. 40 years of mourning is complete, Jiho said quietly. It's time for the great reply. Send the order to all fleets. Operation Remembrance begins in 72 hours. The room exploded into activity. Officers rushed to their posts. Communications lit up across human space. The largest military operation in human history was beginning. Senator Junho remained seated after the others left. Jiho sat beside him. Do you think the Valorans would approve? Shunyo asked. I think they would understand, Jiho replied. We're not doing this for revenge. We're doing it for justice, and to make sure it never happens again. Junho nodded. Thelmara told me her people would answer if we called. I wonder if they survived, if they're out there somewhere. If they are, they'll hear about this. The whole galaxy will, Junho smiled. Good, let them all hear. Let them know that humanity keeps its oaths. Every single one. In the darkness of space, human fleets moved into position. Thousands of ships carrying millions of soldiers, all bearing the names of the dead. They moved silently. No oath is forgotten by mankind, and their return gift can shatter empires. The first shot of the war was not a weapon. It was a message. At exactly 600 Universal Time, every Dominion military installation in 47 star systems received the same transmission. It broadcast on all frequencies. There was no way to block it or ignore it. A human face appeared on every screen. Admiral Jiho Kang, standing on the bridge of the dreadnought New Pyongyang's Vengeance. This is Admiral Jiho Kang of the United Earth Fleet, speaking to the Kraith Dominion. 40 years ago you murdered 400,000 people on the colony world of New Pyongyang. You did this to make a statement. To show the galaxy your power. Today humanity delivers its response. This is not a warning. This is not a negotiation. This is justice. Behind him, the view screen showed names. Thousands of them, scrolling endlessly. Every person who died on New Pyongyang, we remember them all. Every name, every life. And now we will show you the price of teaching humanity that mercy has no place among the stars. What you taught us, we learned well. What you did to us, we will never forget. The transmission ended. 2 seconds later, the attack began. Captain Sora Nam stood on the bridge of her dreadnought, watching the tactical display. Her ship was one of 15 attacking the Dominion Central Fleet at Kraith Prime, the heart of their empire. All weapons armed, her tactical officer reported. Enemy fleet is scrambling to respond. The Dominion had 50 capital ships defending their homeworld. It should have been enough. Against any other enemy it would have been enough, but they were not fighting any other enemy. Fire, Sora commanded. The human fleet opened fire with weapons the Dominion had never seen before, energy beams that punched through shields like paper, missiles that could think and adapt mid-flight, railguns that fired projectiles at a percentage of light speed. The Dominion ships returned fire, but their shots hit nothing but empty space. Human ships danced around enemy fire, their enhanced engines and predictive computers making them nearly impossible to hit. In 8 minutes, the first Dominion capital ship exploded. In 30 minutes, 10 more followed. In 2 hours, the central fleet was debris floating in space. Sora allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Then she opened a channel to the planet below. "This is Captain Sora Nam of Earth. Your military fleet is destroyed. Surrender now and no further action will be taken. We have no quarrel with civilians." The Dominion refused to respond. They were too shocked to believe what was happening. Across Dominion space, the same scene played out 46 more times. Commander Daehyun Shin's special forces had done their work perfectly. When human fleets arrived at Dominion worlds, they found defense grids offline. Communication networks jammed. Ships unable to leave dock. The Dominion military was paralyzed before the fight even began. In the Tarko system, Fleet Commander Hyunwoo Jeon led a fighter wing against a Dominion carrier group. His pilots moved like dancers, weaving through enemy fire with impossible precision. "Blue Squadron, target the carrier's engines," Hyunwoo ordered. "Red Squadron, take out their point defense. Gold Squadron, you're with me. We're going for the bridge." The carrier tried to launch its own fighters. Half of them exploded in their launch bays, victims of sabotage codes inserted years ago by Minji's intelligence network. The others found themselves outmatched by human pilots flying superior machines. Hyunwoo's fighter screamed past the carrier's hull, his weapons burning through armor. His wingmate followed, then another, then another. The carrier's bridge exploded in a flash of light. "Carrier down," Hyunwoo reported, moving to next target. In 72 hours, humanity's first fleet had destroyed or disabled every major Dominion military installation they attacked. Not a single human ship was lost. The technological gap was too great. The planning was too perfect. On Earth, Agent Minji sat in a command center monitoring intelligence reports. Her network of agents across Dominion space was sending constant updates. The Dominion military was in chaos. Their commanders were screaming for reinforcements that would never come. Their empire was collapsing. She opened a secure channel to Admiral Jiho. "Sir, the Dominion High Command is trying to contact you. They're requesting negotiations." "Put them through," Jiho replied. The face of Dominar Vorthak appeared on screen. He looked older than his intelligence photos, tired, afraid. "This is madness," Vorthak shouted. "You attack us without provocation, without warning." Jiho's expression remained cold. "We gave you 40 years of warning. Every day you ruled, every species you enslaved, every world you conquered. That was your warning. You chose not to listen. The Galactic Council will not stand for this."
"You are violating every treaty."
"The same Galactic Council that watched you glass New Pyongyang and called it an internal matter?" Jiho's voice was ice. "The same council that turned away Velaran refugees to let you finish your genocide? That council has no authority here." Vorthak changed tactics. "We can negotiate, reparations, territory, whatever you want." "There is no negotiation. You surrender unconditionally or we continue our response. You have 24 hours. Jiho cut the transmission. But Vorthak did not surrender. Instead, he made the worst mistake of his life. 12 Dominion client species had been conquered by the Empire over the centuries. They had no choice but to serve their masters. Vorthak decided to use them as leverage. "If Earth does not cease its attack," he broadcast to the galaxy, "we will destroy the homeworlds of every species under our protection. 12 worlds will burn. Billions will die. This is humanity's fault." The message reached Earth Command 20 minutes later. Jiho felt his blood run cold. "Get me deployment positions on all available fleets," he ordered. "How many of those worlds can we reach in time?" Dr. Tiang ran the calculations. 11, sir. Maybe 11. The 12th is too far. Even with our fastest ships, we'll be 6 hours too late." Jiho slammed his fist on the console. "Dispatch all available forces. I want every ship that can move heading to those worlds now. Maximum speed." Across human space, fleets changed course. Ships pushed their engines beyond safe limits. Captains made impossible decisions about fuel and munitions. sacrificing everything for speed. Sora's dreadnought was closest to the Velar homeworld. Intelligence said the Dominion had 3 battleships there, preparing to begin bombardment. "How long until we arrive?" Sora demanded. 42 minutes, Captain. The Dominion will begin firing in 45. Not good enough. Divert all power from non-essential systems to engines. Life support to minimum. Weapons to standby. Her crew moved without hesitation. They knew what was at stake. The ship shuddered as its engines burned hotter than they were designed to. Warning alarms screamed. The hull temperature climbed into dangerous levels. But they gained speed. They arrived at the Velar homeworld with 3 minutes to spare. The 3 Dominion battleships never saw them coming. Sora's dreadnought dropped out of faster-than-light travel at point-blank range and opened fire. The first battleship exploded before it could react. The second managed to raise shields before being torn apart. The third tried to run and was destroyed trying to escape. Sora opened a channel to the planet below. "This is Captain Sora Nam of Earth. You are safe. The Dominion ships have been destroyed. We're here to help." On the planet's surface, billions of Velar people looked up at the sky. For the first time in 100 years, they saw hope instead of fear. The same scene repeated across 11 worlds. Human fleets arrived just in time. Dominion ships were destroyed. Population saved, but the 12th world was too far. Fleet Commander Daesong Lee pushed his ships as hard as Sora had. Harder even, but the distance was too great. His tactical officer watched the countdown with tears in his eyes. 5 minutes until Dominion bombardment begins, sir. We're still 40 minutes out. Daesong watched his screen helplessly. On the planet below, the Korvathi people went about their daily lives, unaware that their world was about to end. The first energy beam struck the planet's capital city. Daesong's hands gripped his chair so hard his knuckles turned white. "Maintain course. We may be too late to save them, but we can avenge them, and we can make sure no more Dominion ships escape." When his fleet arrived, they found the Korvathi homeworld burning. 3 billion people were dead or dying. The Dominion ships responsible were still in orbit, documenting their work. Daesong's fleet did not bother with warnings or demands for surrender. They simply opened fire. The Dominion ships were destroyed in seconds. But it was not enough. It would never be enough. Daesong sent a message to Admiral Jiho. It was short and filled with pain. "We were too late. The Korvathi are gone." On Earth, Jiho received the message in front of the entire command staff. He read it twice, then stood up. "Send a message to Dominar Vorthak. Tell him we're done negotiating. Tell him we're done showing mercy." He wanted to prove he was irredeemable. Mission accomplished. The accounting continues. The war entered a new phase. Human fleets stopped attacking only military targets. They began dismantling the entire Dominion infrastructure, supply depots, trading stations, administrative centers. Everything that made the Empire function was systematically destroyed. The Dominion tried to fight back. They assembled their remaining fleets for one last stand at the fortress world of Drakor. No oath is forgotten by mankind, and their return gift can shatter empires. The Citadel had stood for 500 years. Built into a massive asteroid, reinforced with layers of armor and shields defended by automated weapon systems that could vaporize a fleet, it was the Dominion's ultimate fortress. No enemy had ever breached its walls. No attack had ever succeeded. Admiral Jiho Kang studied the tactical readouts with a frown. The Citadel was not just well defended, it was nearly impossible to attack. Any fleet that got close would be shredded by its weapon grids. Any bombardment from distance would be absorbed by shields strong enough to withstand a star's radiation. "It's a tough target," Captain Sora admitted. She stood beside Jiho on the command bridge looking at the same data. "We could crack it eventually, but the casualties would be severe. Tens of thousands of our people." General Yunjibai joined them. She commanded the ground forces, and her expression was grim. "Even if we break through the shields and weapons, we still have to fight our way inside. Intelligence says Vorthak has 500,000 soldiers in there. The corridors are narrow. Every intersection is a kill zone. It would be the bloodiest battle of the war." Senator Junho Kim sat in a chair nearby. He was very old now, and the journey from Earth had been hard on him. But he had insisted on coming. He wanted to see the end of this with his own eyes. "Can we starve them out?" Junho asked. "Siege warfare?" "The Citadel has supplies for 50 years, Agent Minji replied. She had come aboard to provide intelligence support. Vorthak planned for this. He knew someday someone might come for him. He made sure he could wait us out. Jiho shook his head. We don't have 50 years. Every day we wait, the Galactic Council gets more nervous about human power. Other species are starting to wonder if we'll stop with the Dominion. We need to end this soon. For 3 days they planned and argued and calculated. Every simulation ended the same way. They could win, but the cost would be terrible. Thousands of human lives to capture one fortress. On the 4th day, something changed. Lieutenant Quan was monitoring long-range sensors when he saw it. A fleet signature appearing on the edge of the system. Then another. Then 100 more. Admiral, Quan called out. Unknown ships entering the system.
Multiple contacts!
Every alarm on the ship started screaming. The crew rushed to battle stations. Weapons powered up. Shields activated. Identify those ships, Jiho ordered. Quan's hands flew across his console. Sir, I'm getting strange readings. The ships are using technology similar to ours, but different, more advanced. And sir, they're broadcasting a message. It's in an old language. I think it's... Wait, it's Velaran. Silence fell across the bridge. Minji rushed to the communication station. Play the message. A voice came through the speakers. Soft, musical, but strong. This is Elder Kelthera of the Valoran Coalition, calling the human fleet. We heard your war in the deep dark. We heard about New Pyongyang. We heard about your oath, and we remember the oath our grandmother made to Captain Junho Kim 40 years ago. Junho struggled to his feet, leaning heavily on his cane. Tears ran down his weathered face. Thelmara had a granddaughter. The message continued. 50,000 of us fled into the darkness. You gave us shelter when we had nothing. You gave us hope when we had none. In 40 years we have grown. We have rebuilt. We number 2 million now. We have developed new technologies. We have become strong, and we remember our oath. You helped us survive. You avenged yourselves with honor. Fighting only soldiers, protecting civilians. Now let us stand beside you. No oath is forgotten by the Valoran people either. The Valoran fleet moved into formation beside the human ships. Junyo watched with wonder as hundreds of sleek vessels took position. They were beautiful, organic-looking things that seemed to flow through space. A smaller ship approached the flagship. A figure appeared on the view screen. She looked like Thelmara, but younger. Her eyes held the same wisdom, the same kindness, but also something new. Strength. Captain Junho Kim, Kelthera said. My grandmother told me stories about you. About the human who made an oath when your species had every reason to be afraid. About the world that sheltered us when no one else would. She made me promise to remember. I have, Junho found his voice. Your grandmother was a wise woman. I'm honored to meet you. The honor is ours. Now let us repay your kindness. You need to break that fortress. We can help. Our ships can project a field that disrupts shield harmonics. Combined with your firepower, we can crack the Citadel's defenses. Jiho stepped forward. Elder Kelthera, we appreciate this, but it's not your fight. You've already suffered enough at the Dominion's hands. Kelthera's expression became hard. It became our fight when they tried to exterminate us. It became our fight when they made you bleed for helping us. And it is our honor to stand beside those who kept their oath. We will not be turned away. The combined human Velaran fleet surrounded the Citadel. Inside the fortress, Vorthak watched the displays with growing horror. The humans had been bad enough. But now they had allies, powerful ones. How many ships? He asked his tactical officer. 2,000 Dominar, human and Velaran combined. Vorthak slumped in his throne. Contact the human admiral. Request terms of surrender. The message reached Jiho minutes later. He read it and shook his head. Tell him no. No surrender. He had his chance 40 years ago. He had his chance before he burned the Korvati homeworld. Now he gets justice, not mercy. The bombardment began at dawn. Velaran ships projected their disruption field. The Citadel's shields flickered and wavered. Human dreadnoughts fired their main weapons. Energy beams struck the weakened shields and punched through. The fortress's outer armor began to melt. Automated defense weapons fired back, but Hyunwoo's fighter wings were ready. They danced through the streams of fire, destroying gun emplacements one by one. Commander Daehyun Shin led the first assault teams. They approached in stealth pods, landing on the Citadel's surface. His soldiers cut through the outer hull with plasma torches and poured into the fortress. General Eunji Bai commanded the main assault. Wave after wave of human marines entered the Citadel, fighting through narrow corridors and defended choke points. The battle was brutal. Every meter was paid for in blood. But the humans kept advancing. Dominion soldiers fought desperately. They knew they had nowhere to run. But they were facing enemies who had trained for 40 years for this moment. Enemies who carried the names of 400,000 dead on their uniforms. Enemies who would not stop. The battle raged for 18 hours. Daehyun's team reached the command level. They fought through Vorthak's elite guards, the best soldiers the Dominion had. But training and equipment could only do so much. The guards fell. Vorthak sat on his throne when they broke through the final door. He was alone. His advisors had fled or died. His empire was gone. All that remained was one old tyrant and his crumbling fortress. "I am unarmed," Vorthak said, raising his hands. Daehyun kept his weapon pointed at the Dominar. "Stand up slowly." Outside, the battle was ending. The last pockets of resistance were surrendering. Yoonji's forces secured the fortress level by level. Hyunwoo's fighters eliminated the last defense weapons. When it was over, the count came in. 2,000 human soldiers had died in the assault. It was the bloodiest battle of the war. But the citadel had fallen. The Dominion's last stronghold was broken. They brought Vorthak to the flagship in chains. Admiral Jiho watched as the former Dominar was led onto the bridge. The old tyrant looked small now, weak. Nothing like the powerful ruler who had ordered New Pyongyang destroyed. Senator Junho stepped forward. He stared at Vorthak for a long moment. This was the creature who had killed his world, who had murdered 400,000 of his people. "You destroyed an empire for one world?" Vorthak asked. His voice held disbelief. 400,000 people and you burned down everything we built? It makes no sense. Junho leaned on his cane and smiled. It was not a kind smile. No, we didn't destroy an empire for one world. We kept an oath. There's a difference. He turned to Jiho. What happens now, Admiral? Now we take him to Earth. There will be a trial, fair, public, legal. We'll present the evidence of his crimes. Every world he glassed, every species he enslaved, every refugee he turned away. And then we'll let justice take its course, Vorthak sneered. The Galactic Council will never allow this. The Galactic Council, Minji said coldly, has no say in this matter. They gave up that right when they watched New Pyongyang burn and did nothing. They took Vorthak to a cell. Kelthera visited him there. She looked at the tyrant who had tried to exterminate her people. I wanted you to know, she said, that humanity came for you because you broke their people, but we came because they kept their oath to us. They showed mercy when you showed none. They gave shelter when you gave death. The galaxy will remember what happened here, not just your fall, but how you fell, brought down by people who remembered kindness. That is your true legacy. She left him there alone in his cell, contemplating the ruins of his empire. On the bridge, Jiho gathered his commanders. Send word to all liberated worlds. The Dominion is finished. Any remaining military forces have 48 hours to surrender or face destruction. Any species that was under Dominion control is now free. We will help them rebuild. No oath is forgotten by mankind, and their return gift can shatter empires. 2 years after the fall of the Citadel, Earth looked different. Ships from 100 different species filled the orbital stations. Diplomats from liberated worlds walked the streets of Geneva, where the new Interspecies Alliance had established its headquarters. The building stood on ground that had once been neutral territory for the old Galactic Council's meetings. Now it represented something new, something better. President Nari Huang stood at a window in her office watching the activity below. She had been elected specifically to manage this new era, to guide humanity through the complicated process of going from liberators to partners. Madam President, her aide said, Ambassador Yuna Park is here for your meeting. Nari turned and smiled. Send her in. Yuna Park walked slowly into the office. She was elderly now, one of the last survivors of New Pyongyang's destruction. She had spent 40 years waiting for justice. Then she had watched humanity deliver it. Now she served as humanity's primary ambassador to the new alliance. You wanted to see me? Yuna asked, settling into a chair with a grateful sigh. The trial begins tomorrow, Nari said. Are you ready? Yuna nodded. I've been ready for 42 years. The trial of Dominar Vorthak had taken 2 years to prepare. Humanity had insisted on doing it properly, gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, following every legal protocol. They wanted the galaxy to see that this was not revenge. This was justice. The courthouse was specially built for the occasion. Representatives from every species the Dominion had harmed were invited to attend. The proceedings would be broadcast across the galaxy. On the morning of the trial, Yuna walked into the courtroom wearing a simple dress. Pinned to her chest was a badge bearing the symbol of New Pyongyang. She was not the only one. Hundreds of survivors wore the same badge. They had come from across human space to witness this moment. Vorthak was led in wearing plain prison clothes. No chains, no armed guards pointing weapons at him, just 2 security officers walking beside him. Even now, even after everything, humanity treated him with basic dignity. The judges entered. 3 humans, 2 Velerans and 1 representative each from the 5 species that had suffered most under Dominion rule. They took their seats. The chief judge, a human woman named Justice Heejin Kwan, began. Dominar Vorthak, you stand accused of crimes against sapient life, genocide, mass murder, enslavement, forced displacement, the destruction of inhabited worlds. How do you plead? Vorthak stood silent for a moment. Then he spoke. Guilty. To all charges. A murmur ran through the courtroom. His own lawyer looked shocked. Justice Heejin raised an eyebrow. You confess to these crimes? What purpose would denial serve? Vorthak said. The evidence is clear. I ordered the destruction of New Pyongyang. I ordered the burning of the Korvathi homeworld. I ordered the conquest of 30 species. I did these things because I believed the Dominion was strong enough to do whatever it wanted. I was wrong. The price of that error is obvious. Why, do you feel remorse? Justice Heejin asked. Vorthak was quiet for a long time. I feel regret. Regret that I underestimated humanity. Regret that I taught them the wrong lessons. But remorse? For my victims? He shook his head. No, I believed they were weak and therefore meaningless. That belief is why I am here. Let that be recorded. The trial continued for 6 weeks. Witness after witness testified. Survivors from New Pyongyang. Veloran refugees. Families from the Korvathi world. Scientists who analyzed the bombardment patterns. Military historians who documented the Dominion's wars. Through it all, Vorthak sat silently. He offered no defense. Made no excuses. On the final day, the judges returned their verdict. Guilty on all counts. The sentence was death. Vorthak was executed 1 month later by lethal injection with full legal protocol followed. His last words were broadcast to the galaxy. I taught humanity that might makes right. They proved me wrong. Remember that. After the execution, Yuna gave a speech to the assembled diplomats and press. Today, justice was served. Not vengeance, justice. Vorthak faced a fair trial. He had legal representation. His rights were respected. We did this not because he deserved such treatment, but because we are not like him. We remember mercy. We remember law. We remember that civilization is built on principles, not power. She paused, looking around the room. But justice for one tyrant is not enough. We must build a galaxy where tyrants cannot rise, where species are not left to face genocide alone, where the strong protect the weak, not because they are forced to, but because they choose to. In the rebuilt city on New Pyongyang, young Seokjin-oh watched the broadcast with his grandmother. He was 16, born after the destruction. He knew the stories, but had never seen the world as it was before. Grandmother, he asked, why did humanity fight for so long? 40 years is a lifetime. His grandmother, a survivor of the bombardment, smiled sadly. Because some things cannot be forgotten, and should not be. Your parents, my daughter and son-in-law, died when the Dominion attacked. I could have spent 40 years being bitter. Instead, I chose to remember them with love, and to make sure their deaths meant something. Around them, the city continued to rebuild. New buildings rose where old ones had burned. But certain things were preserved exactly as they had been. Memorial parks, museums, the names of the dead written in stone. Is it true we'll never forget them? Seokjin asked. Never, his grandmother confirmed. Every ship in our fleet carries their names. Every soldier wears them on their uniform. And this city, it's a living memorial. People live here, work here, have children here. Life continues. But we remember. In deep space, the Valoran Coalition established a permanent station in the New Pyongyang system. Kelthara presided over the dedication ceremony. 42 years ago, humanity gave our people shelter when no one else would. Today, we establish this station as an eternal flame, a reminder that kindness is never wasted, that oaths are sacred, and that the bond between our peoples will never break. The station was beautiful, a spiral of organic technology that glowed with soft light. It would orbit New Pyongyang forever, a symbol of the alliance between two species who had learned the value of keeping promises. On Earth, the Galactic Council finally called for a formal meeting. They had been avoiding direct confrontation with humanity for 2 years, but they could no longer ignore the new power in the galaxy. President Nari and Ambassador Yuna traveled to the council chambers. The room was tense. Representatives from 200 species watched them with a mixture of fear and respect. The council chairman, a pompous ambassador from a species that had done nothing during the war, stood to speak. Humanity's actions against the Dominion were excessive. We must establish limits on military power, restrictions on fleet sizes, oversight committees. Yuna stood slowly. She was very old now, but her voice was strong. No. The single word echoed through the chamber. Excuse me, the chairman sputtered. I said no. The Galactic Council watched as 400,000 of my people burned. You called it an internal matter. You watched as the Korvathi world died. You did nothing. You had 100 opportunities to stop the Dominion, and you chose inaction every single time. She walked to the center of the chamber, looking at each representative in turn. You taught us a lesson. You taught us that the galaxy watches injustice and does nothing, so we taught the galaxy a lesson in return. We taught you that humanity does not forget, that our oaths are sacred, that when we say we will do something, we do it. You cannot simply ignore the Council's authority. The chairman protested. We are not ignoring it. We are rejecting it. You have no authority over us. You lost that right when you failed in your most basic duty. To protect the innocent, Nari stepped forward. However, we are not here to make enemies. We are here to propose something new. A real alliance. One where species commit to defending each other. Where genocide is met with immediate action, not committees and discussions. Where oaths mean something. The Valoran Coalition stands with humanity on this, Kelthera added, appearing on a view screen. We will not submit to a council that failed us when we needed help most. The debate raged for hours, but in the end the result was clear. Humanity and its allies would form their own coalition. They would welcome any species that wished to join. But they would not accept the council's authority. 30 species immediately applied to join the new alliance. Then 50, then 100. Within 6 months, the old Galactic Council was nearly empty. They had learned the hard way that power comes not from committees, but from keeping your word. 5 years after the war ended, Senator Junho Kim died peacefully in his sleep. He was 97 years old. He had lived to see justice done, to see the Valorans return, to see humanity take its place as a leader in the galaxy. His funeral was attended by representatives from every species in the Alliance. Kelthara spoke at the service. Junho Kim was not a soldier, not a scientist, not a president. He was a cargo ship captain who made an oath. And he kept it. In doing so, he changed the galaxy. Let that be his legacy. That one person making one promise and keeping it can reshape the universe. They buried him on New Pyongyang, in a cemetery overlooking the rebuilt capital. His gravestone was simple. It read, Captain Junho Kim, he remembered,